Hello everyone, welcome back to our MEG-01 British Poetry lecture series. In the previous lecture, we studied William Wordsworth's theory of poetry, where emotions, common life, and simplicity were central ideas. In today's lecture, we will discuss Samuel Taylor Coleridge's theory of imagination, which is one of the most intellectually demanding but highly rewarding topics in MEG-01 syllabus. IGNOU frequently asks questions such as explain Coleridge's theory of imaginations, distinguish between primary and secondary imaginations, compare Wordsworth's and Coleridge's view on imagination. This lecture will help you answer all such questions confidently. So without any further wait, let's start with the Coleridge as a romantic poet and critic. Samuel Taylor Coleridge was not only a poet but also a philosopher and literary critic. Unlike Wordsworth, who emphasizes emotion, Coleridge focused on the working of the human mind, the philosophical nature of imagination, the creative power of poetry. His ideas are mainly founded in Biographia Literaria, which is launched in 1817. This work is a cornerstone of romantic literary criticism. Coleridge's concepts of imagination. Coleridge believed that imagination is the central creative power of poetry. He did not treat imagination as fancy, daydreaming, mere associations of ideas. Instead, he viewed imagination as a dynamic, shaping, and unifying force. According to Coleridge, imagination gives unity of experience, order to chaos, meaning to perceptions. Primary imaginations. Coleridge defines primary imagination as the living power and prime agent of all human perceptions. Primary imagination is universal, involuntary, shared by all human beings. It is the basic power through which we perceive the world, organize sensory experience. In simple terms, primary imagination helps us see reality as reality. It is the passive but essential mental activity. Secondary imagination. Secondary imagination is closely related to primary imagination but operates at a higher creative level. Coleridge describes it as a repetition of the primary imagination but with conscious will. Secondary imagination is possessed by poets and artists. It is creative and intentional, dissolves and recreates reality. It transforms raw experience into artistic expressions. This is the imagination that creates poetry. Let's discuss the difference between primary and secondary imaginations. Primary imagination means universal, involuntary, perspective. Secondary imaginations, limited to poets, voluntary, creates, and artistic. This distinction is extremely important for IGNOU exam. Fancy versus imagination. Coleridge makes a clear distinction between fancy and imaginations. Fancy, mechanical, works by associations, rearranges exciting ideas, has no creative power. Imagination, organic, creative, unifies and transforms experience. Coleridge strongly argues that fancy is not imaginations. This distinction is frequently asked in short notes. Imagination as a unifying power. One of Coleridge's most important ideas is the imaginations, units opposites, harmonizes contradictions. For example, subject and object, emotion and thought, nature and mind. This makes poetry organic and not mechanical. Coleridge versus Wordsworth. Wordsworth emphasizes emotions, focuses on recollection, asserts simplicity. Coleridge emphasizes imaginations, focus on philosophy of mind, stresses intellectual unity. In exams, this comparison can fetch very high marks. Function of poetry according to Coleridge. For Coleridge, poetry is not mere emotional expressions. Is an act of creative imagination, reveals deeper truths of reality. Poets help readers perceive unity in diversity, experience harmony. Critical importance of Coleridge's theory. Coleridge's theory give philosophical depth to romanticism, influence later literary criticism, elevated imaginations to a central artistic principle. IGNOU examiners value creativity of explanations, not memorization. Now let's discuss how to write a 20 marks answer if you get these questions about Coleridge. In the first introduction, introduce Coleridge as a romantic poet, critic and mention Biographia Literaria. Explain in the body concept of imagination, primary imagination, secondary imagination, fancy versus imaginations. Use definitions and distinctions clarity. In the conclusion, highlights Coleridge's contributions to romantic literary theory. To conclude, Coleridge's theory of imaginations provides the philosophical backbone of romantic poetry, explains how poetry is created, distinguishes true creativity from mechanical imitation. Understanding this theory is essential for scoring well in MEG-01. In the next lecture, we will move to British romantic poets individually, starting with Wordsworth's poem to proceed Keats and Shelley, depending on your preference. Let me know in the comments. Bye.